Hello, everyone, and welcome to Slash Film Daily for September 25th, 2018. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the latest film and TV news. This is Slash Film Editor-in-Chief Peter Soretta. And joining me on today's podcast is Slash Film writers Hoai-Tran Bui.
Hey, everyone.
And Chris Evangelista.
Hello.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Good?
It's been raining nonstop over at on my coast, and I hate it.
It's actually been a little chilly here in L.A.
Oh. All's coming.
Yeah. Let's get into the news because we got a bunch of it, as we do every Tuesday since we take Monday off for the water cooler. And let's start this off with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We had recently heard that production had been put on hold, that they were going to be reworking it, which made many people think that James Gunn's script was going to be basically out and they were going to completely revamp this third film. But new news is that we might be getting his script after all. Chris, tell us about it.
Yes, so Sean Gunn, who is James Gunn's brother and is also in the series, as he's one of the Ravagers, and he also does the motion capture work for Rocket Raccoon. He did an interview with a paper, and he confirmed, at least as far as he knows, that Disney and Marvel are indeed going to use James Gunn's script whenever Guardians of the Galaxy 3 happens. There's still no word on when that's happening, and last we heard from Dave Bautista, it's pretty much on hold indefinitely. So at this time, we don't know when it's going to happen, but when it does happen, they are going to still use James Gunn's script, which he turned in just a little bit before he got fired.
Do you think this is like a little disingenuous of Disney because, they deemed James Gunn, his past, too offensive to keep him employed as director, but they're willing to, use his script on the next movie?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think the whole situation is a bit ridiculous, but I also think that there's probably like a contractual thing that, I don't know, maybe they couldn't get out of the contract for the script. I really don't know, but I don't want to get into this whole thing again because I feel like it's been talked to death, but this whole thing is a mess, and it really should have never happened.
Yeah, I just wonder what kind of director is going to want to come in and direct James Gunn's script, because I feel like so much of that movie was, the direction, the feeling, the tone, the comedy, everything was just so much him. And especially going off a script, if you weren't completely going from scratch and, doing your own thing, it's going to feel a little, I don't know. And I'm just very skeptical. HD, do you have any thoughts?
What I wonder is, since Disney made a whole big show out of firing James Gunn and didn't want his name associated with the brand, are they going to credit him in the movie since it is his script?
Well,
I wonder if that's going to have some implications or whatever later on. I don't know. Who knows?
Well, they are a Writers Guild signatory, so unless they drastically change the script, I think I forget the percentage of what the story beats and stuff is, but it has to be dramatically changed. He would not. There's no way to get his name off that. And even if they dramatically change it, he would still get a story by credit unless they completely threw it out and did something, completely different. So it is weird. It's very strange. But let's move on to Michael Moore's Fahrenheit 11/9, which hit the theaters this weekend, and tons of people went and saw it. No, they didn't. Nobody saw it. HD, tell us about it.
So Fahrenheit 11/9, which is sort of his thematic sequel to Fahrenheit 9/11, the Bush-era anti-Iraq war documentary that made waves and went on to become Michael Moore's best-selling documentary ever and the best-selling documentary ever. Fahrenheit 11/9 didn't do quite so well. It opened only $3 million in 1,719 theaters, which is actually a very wide release for documentaries. Very few documentaries get that kind of wide release. And while Fahrenheit 11/9's opening numbers are actually pretty good for a documentary, it's disappointing in terms of Michael Moore's whole catalog, and has been sort of another indicator of his kind of downward influence at the box office.
Yeah, 3 million. Honestly, documentaries don't make that much at the box office. If this movie were only to make $3 million, it would still be in the top 60 documentaries of all time. But this is a far drop from his past efforts, especially in this world where it seems like at least everybody in my bubble is so up in arms at the current administration and what's going on. Why do you think people did not go to this one?
So the early reviews for this movie were kind of mixed, but mostly positive, saying that it was a really powerful film, but a little all over the place. It dealt with a series of issues and not just Trump, as it was purported to initially target in the beginning. And I think that was partly the reason, but a lot of other critics have said that perhaps it's because we're just tired of Trump. And we see him, 24/7 on our TV screens and every day, and people don't want to revisit his rise and his current sort of administration because we are already so inundated with everything Trump-wise. And it's also kind of Michael Moore's falling influence as well. He has been known as sort of a mainstream muckraker, and his films like Fahrenheit 9/11, Bowling for Columbine, Sicko used to start these dialogues around important industries like the Iraq War or the health industry. And yet now, while he's still maintained that status as someone who's kind of prophetic in a way in terms of just like these larger trends, he doesn't have quite the influence anymore. People maybe have just kind of grown tired of his shtick. And perhaps a lot of his audience have kind of aged out of wanting to really seek out a lot of his really in-your-face films.
Or even go to the movie theater. I mean, I'm a Michael Moore fan, but I kind of like the films that you mentioned, Bowling for Columbine and Sicko, more than like the Fahrenheit 9/11. I'm not even that excited to see this, but it is kind of disappointed because I feel like it's just another thing that the, Make America Great Again folks are going to use to be like, look, no one saw this movie. It's just, the liberal media that is upset over Trump. It's, there's really, America loves Trump.
Yeah, well, no one saw Dinesh D'Souza's movie either, so.
Yeah, no, good point. Good point. Let's move on to Making a Murderer. Part 2 of that series is set to come out on Netflix. Chris, what do we know?
So Making a Murderer came out in 2015. It was a very big. It was like the definition of a water cooler show. We don't really have water cooler shows anymore, but it felt like this show was definitely that, where everyone was just talking about it. It was this true crime documentary, and it delved into the story of Stephen Avery, and it made it look like, he was an innocent man being framed by a justice system gone wild, and it made a big impact. Ever since it's aired, there's been buzz about a follow-up, and now there actually is a follow-up happening, and it's coming very soon. It will drop onto Netflix October 19th, which is less than a month from now. And it's going to be 10 new episodes that delve into the story after the last one ended, where, he ended up convicted. And so this is about what happened after that. So, it's coming a lot sooner than I think anyone expected it to come.
Yeah, I mean, this series kind of, I think launched this whole true crime, everybody being obsessed with true crime stuff. Although I think Serial came out before, right?
Serial was first, yeah. And obviously, true crime as a genre has been around for a while. But you're right.
But the current craze of it, and
especially on Netflix, because they've made several true crime things since this.
Yeah, but in that first docuseries is so great because it has so many twists and turns, and they filmed it over the course of almost 10 years or something like that. This one, they only have a few years, and from what I can tell from, just the news reporting, it doesn't seem like there has been that many twists and turns to warrant, did you say 10 episodes?
Yeah, there's 10.
What do you guys think? Do you think there's enough here that has happened in the wake of this series that that it's going to be must-see TV like the first one?
I mean, personally speaking, I don't know, and I've kind of cooled on it a little. When it first aired, the first season, I was blown away by it. But since then, I've learned that the filmmakers left a lot of stuff out, and I mean, documentary filmmakers do that all the time, but there's a wealth of information they deliberately didn't include, and it makes the story a little less sketchy. So I'm a little less hyped up for this second one, I have to admit.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to delve into that in series season 2. Are you HT? Are you at all excited for part 2 of this show?
So I'm one of the only people I think who hasn't seen Making a Murder. I completely got left behind in the true crime zeitgeist. But yeah, I don't know. 10 episodes seems like a lot for the short amount of time that they've made it. And I wonder if true crime is still quite as potent. It might feel like similar to how Serial season 2, part 2 was greeted, because Serial was such a big phenomenon, and then people just totally dropped Serial season 2.
Yeah, I didn't hear anybody talking about Serial season 2. Although season 3 of Serial, people are saying good things about. So, yeah, you never know. But let's move on to Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, which is a mouthful of a title, which I hate saying every single time. They are bringing back a character from the Harry Potter series. It's kind of a surprise. It was revealed today. HT, you were kind of shook up when you realized this. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald dropped a new trailer today, and in it revealed the identity of Claudia Kim's character, who is actually a familiar face from the Harry Potter franchise, but in a way that we've never seen her before. So in this trailer, you see a scene in which Claudia Kim's character transforms into a snake, and you hear Ezra Miller's character say Nagini. And for those who don't know, Nagini is the pet snake of Voldemort from the original Harry Potter series. No one knew until now that she was previously human, but this is the big reveal. And Claudia Kim has been described to be a maledictus, which is a person whose blood was cursed to transform into a beast. And this is a curse with a time bomb, essentially. She can transform by will, it seems, but after a while, she will be unable to transform back into a human and is cursed to remain as a beast forever. So this is a choice that has stirred up some controversy online, mostly because it kind of dampens this big moment of triumph in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, in which Nagini is killed by Neville Longbottom. I hope I didn't spoil it for anyone. This movie's been out for like 10 years now.
Yeah.
And because she is a Horcrux, I'm going to go into Harry Potter lore for a little bit, which is one of the parts of Voldemort's soul that he puts into various objects in order to maintain a semblance of immortality. So she's killed, and it's this big triumphant moment. But now, knowing that she was originally human, and a sympathetic human at that, who can't really control her powers, and is kind of waiting until she basically gets all the humanity sapped out of her, really just dampens this whole moment and adds layers to it, but maybe not layers that we want. Another problem is that this is played by Claudia Kim, who is one of the few people of color in this franchise, which has been criticized for its lack of diversity before. And it basically reinterprets this character, or reintroduces this character as, one who is doomed to become enslaved by a villain who is also a thinly veiled Nazi metaphor and become a little object later. So it's like there's a slew of issues with this revelation that people have taken with it.
But apparently this is something JK has been interested in doing for a while now. I think she's been responding to fans. I mean, do you think like they could take this series, this Fantastic Beasts series, and make, sure she's sympathetic right now, but, we don't know what direction that character is going to take. And if eventually she gets to the point that, like, it doesn't seem like she's just, as sympathetic, that like, it will pay off in that Neville Longbottom, kill.
I mean, I don't mind creating a character like this who is basically doomed for tragedy. I think it's a really interesting story to explore. I just think that by basically retconning it, you see like the last part of her life, and it's given no depth in that part in the Harry Potter movies and the Harry Potter books, because she's not really a character in those books. And so it's just kind of, it's one of those retcons that, it falls flat because of that. You know what I mean? It's like because you don't get offered that depth in later movies, or I guess the earlier movies, the later part of her years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the same thing as Anakin Skywalker in the Star Wars prequels, which didn't turn out well, so I don't have an argument here. Let's move on to a series of stories which were all a bunch of bad ideas. Let's start out first with the Wild Bunch remake, which it turns out is going to be directed by Mel Gibson. Chris, tell us about it.
So The Wild Bunch is a famous Western from Sam Peckinpah. It's famous for its ultra violence and its style. And now it's getting a remake from Mel Gibson. And so on one level, this makes sense because Mel Gibson is very good at movies with excessive violence. But on the other hand, it's just another sign that, all of Mel Gibson's past transgressions have just been forgotten by Hollywood. I mean, this is a major movie. It's Warner Brothers hiring him to helm their big remake. And I don't want to get a whole thing here. And, I honestly think Mel Gibson actually is a good director, but I also feel like he shouldn't be making movies anymore. Like there was very little downtime between his scandals and his big comeback. I mean, he got nominated for an Oscar and stuff.
Yeah, and I should say this, he's one of those people, and this is just my interpretation. You can tell me if you agree or disagree, that some people make mistakes and they come out and apologize, and you can tell that they have reevaluated and they're a changed person. I've never gotten the sense that Mel Gibson is anything different than what he was.
No, I agree. I've never really seen a sincere apology from him. I mean, I've heard stuff about, his actions being blamed on his, drinking and stuff like that, but that's not really, even when you're an alcoholic, you're supposed to apologize. It's one of the steps. And I've never really seen him do that. So that sort of sours me on him.
No, me as well. Let's move on to another bad idea, and that is that The Girl in the Spider's Web has a new subtitle, A New Dragon Tattoo Story. This is all kinds of bad for a variety of different reasons. HT, tell us about it.
Yeah, so speaking of mouthful titles, the Girl in the Spider's Web is now called The Girl in the Spider's Web, A New Dragon Tattoo Story, which makes it sound like it's destined for the bargain bins of whatever DVD stores you have in your local stores now. But this is something that Sony has been pushing in its most recent posters. It hasn't appeared in earlier posters or trailers, and it seems it's tying the sequel back to the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movie that was first released in 2011, directed by David Fincher, and is supposedly supposed to help with the public who probably weren't aware that this was a Dragon Tattoo sequel, but maybe it wouldn't help them in the first place because Girl with the Dragon Tattoo was actually not a huge box office hit, though it might have had a lot of acclaim and be really beloved in film circles. So it seems just redundant in general.
Yeah, I will say this, though. If judging by the trailers and stuff, you would have no indication that this is a sequel to The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And so much so that even when we posted this story with a WTF headline, one of our readers, Jeff V, responded, I was excited for this film and had no clue it was a sequel. Is the first one worth watching? And I think he's very sincere in this question. It's not a joke. I don't know. I do think there's a point here for Sony to try to, let people know that this is, in the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo franchise, because obviously, people read those books. But I guess those people that read the books would know that this is part of the franchise, right? I guess you make a good point, HT. The first film didn't do that well at the box office, so what help does this do to people? And at the same time, to me, I just find it so weird because, Solo, a Star Wars story, was all the talk of the town that, it doing very badly at the box office. And, they're basically giving Spider's Web a new Dragon Tattoo Story subtitle, which sounds so much like that. Chris, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, it's a terribly clunky title. I mean, I don't think anyone's honestly going to use that title. Like, no one's going to go to the box office and be like, 1 ticket to The Girl in the Spider's Web, a new dragon tattoo story, please, because people don't do that. But this whole thing, I don't know. I really liked the David Fincher Dragon Tattoo, even though it's technically a remake. And I wish he had been given the chance to direct the other 2 films because he wanted to, and they just never got around to it. So,
or even have him produce it with having the same cast and stuff. But this is
it's just weird. Everything about this looks weird to me. I mean, I like Claire Foy, but she looks wrong for the part, and it just looks like an action movie, which the first one wasn't. So I really don't know what they're going for here.
Yeah. I just don't know why, if they were going to go for this huge title, why not just call it The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo in the Spider's Web?
That's even worse. Well, the funny thing is the Stieg Larsson novels were actually called the Millennium Trilogy, which is much cleaner, but then again, maybe more confusing to other non-audiences as well.
Or it should be The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the number 2.
Oh! The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Fast, Too Furious.
Now, Chris, you got to Photoshop a poster of this. I need to see it.
All right, I'll get on it.
Okay, let's move on to our last of our series of bad ideas, and that is Apple's streaming service. The more we hear about it, the more it sounds like something I don't want in my life, as much as I am an Apple fanatic. Chris, tell us about it.
So Tim Cook and the folks at Apple are working hard to make sure the Apple streaming service is as family-friendly and G-rated as possible. So much so that one of their first shows that they were going to launch, called Vital Signs, which is based on the life of Dr. Dre, they basically have pulled the plug on it because the first episode, according to Tim Cook, was too violent. It had too much drug use in it, and they just didn't want to air it. And they've gone so far as to just literally send notes to people. M. Night Shyamalan's making a thriller for them, and they gave him notes saying, please don't include anything like religious in your thriller. No signs of crucifixes or anything like that. They fired the showrunner on the new Amazing Stories because they thought his direction was too dark. Basically they're just taking all these steps to make sure everything they offer is as, for lack of a little better word, bland as possible, as watered down as possible, which is just very disheartening.
Yes, someone involved was referring to it as comparing it to an expensive NBC, which just sounds like the worst possible thing. Because I feel like we're in this new era of television where the premium cable networks have all this awesome programming that kind of push the boundaries. We have, the streaming service pushing the boundaries, and that's what everybody, I think, is excited about. HT, are you would you be interested in watching an expensive NBC?
Well, I'll be the first devil's advocate here and say that you don't need sex or cursing to have fun. Well, I think that there is a possibility for good quality content, good quality TV shows or movies to be made without, all of the R-rated stuff. I don't know why Apple is making it their brand. I think it's a bit odd. And also the comparison to NBC is a little odd as well. I wonder if they're just trying to be like the anti-HBO, and possibly this isn't for us either. I think that maybe they're appealing to families who have young kids who are trying to find a service where they don't have to monitor all the time. So it's possible that this could be their demographic that they're targeting.
But I don't know. All the Apple products have parental monitoring and that kind of stuff built into them. Why not just make the gambit of everything and be able to use their devices in the way that they built them to be used, so that young children won't see the, more extreme content, and adults can, not have to watch, a small selection of family friendly content.
Parental controls don't always work. And I don't know. Being devil's advocate is hard, Peter. I don't know how you do it.
I don't know. I'm interested to see what this is, because we still don't know how people are even going to watch the content on Apple's TV service. Is it going to be streaming on Apple TV? Is it going to be on the web? like, how are people going to even access this? We don't even know. So there's a lot of questions to be answered here, and I just wish, I am a self-proclaimed Apple fanatic. I love their devices. I am all in. I have an Apple Watch my hand, or my wrist rather. I'm broadcasting right now from a MacBook. I have an iPhone right next to me. I have an Apple TV. That's why I watch 99% of the stuff I watch on. I don't know. This just seems so disappointing to me, because this is a company that I really think gets it right most of the time, and this just seems like a bad idea from start to finish. But I hope they prove me wrong. Steve Jobs used to have this quote. I'm going to paraphrase here, but that basically Apple gives people what they want and not what they think or what they need and not what they think they want. So maybe Apple is making the TV service that we need, but we don't have any idea that we want it. I don't know. Let's move on to our last final story, and this is the Bumblebee trailer, which hit the web yesterday, I think. Yeah, yesterday. And we wanted to give our reactions on this, so you can go to slashfilm.com and check out the Bumblebee trailer. I'll have a link in the show notes. But I'll start this off and say, guys, I know that Paramount is really good at editing awesome trailers of bad Transformers movies, but this looks fantastic. Like, this looks better than, and I'll say some of the Michael Bay Transformer movie trailers are some of the best trailers of all time, and I think this looks better than those. Like, it really looks like it has some heart to it. It brings some of the Transformers in the way I knew them from the 80s in a more blocky style. I'm excited to see that. The action looks so good. HT, what do you think of this trailer?
I am really excited about this trailer. So I remember in the first reaction to the first Bumblebee trailer, I compared it to having an Amblin-esque kind of atmosphere, and I definitely get that with this new trailer. They seem to have heard the reactions from that last one and doubled down on it, which I'm really excited for. It put a smile on my face. I think Haley Steinfeld is great. I get a real sort of almost Iron Giant type of relationship between her and Bumblebee. And I was not a fan of the Transformers in growing up, at least not the animated series, a little before my time. But this made me realize why people were so fond of them. It gave me that nostalgic feeling without really being nostalgic for a specific thing. So I liked it.
Chris, I'm afraid to ask, what did you think of the Bumblebee trailer?
I hate to do this. I really genuinely hate to do this, but it is a no from me. I've actually liked all the trailers up until this one. I thought they were working, and it looked like the first Transformers movie I actually wanted to see. And then this one, man, I don't know. I just want to see one of these movies where stuff isn't like constantly exploding. Like, it's just exhausting. Like this trailer, it starts off good. It starts off well. It starts off basically like the Iron Giant, and it just turns into, John Cena, running around and stuff blowing up, and I just instantly tune out. I was like, I don't care. I don't care anymore. Like,
I will say, I could see, like, from what I saw in this trailer, I bet you that the finale will be just a giant explosive, punch out. But other than that, I liked it. Continue, Tris.
But no, I mean, yeah, that's again, I get it. They have to make these movies entertaining, but I wanted the whole movie to literally just be, I wanted to basically be like E.T., where Bumblebee is the only alien creature, quote unquote, in the film, and he bonds with Haley Steinfeld, and that's it. Like, they didn't need
the government's out to get him. There isn't other Decepticons.
Yeah, they didn't need friggin' Boombox Man or whatever their names are. I don't know. Like, they just like, it would have been fine if, like, John Cena was the only bad guy, like Peter Coyote in E.T., where he's trying to catch Bumblebee and then he realizes Bumblebee isn't so bad. Just do that. I don't need all the other robots, but that's me.
You can send your hate mail to C Evangelista 413. I don't know. I fear that you are probably right. I fear that the movie isn't going to be good. I know that the script wasn't great, or I had heard it wasn't great. I don't know. It just... I guess I'm probably getting my hopes up here. I like Michael Bay, and I kind of like him as a cartoon character, and I admire how insane and ridiculous he is with his films. And I feel like he takes it a few steps too far, and like it's almost hard to watch some action scenes these days from Michael Bay because they're just so I'm trying to think of the word, but like just all over the place. Yeah, overstimulating all over the place. I mean, if you look at some of the stuff that like some of the best parts of those Transformers movies and the action are like these well animatic out sequences, like, you know, the Bumblebee transforming around, you know, Shia LaBeouf's character, Sam Witwicky, and stuff like that. Like, I feel like someone like Travis Knight might not, you know, be all over the place as Michael Bay. I think he might have stuck more to the plan, and that excites me because seeing like even these shots of Haley Steinfeld's character running away while all the action's kind of taking place around her looks like fun to me. Like it doesn't look like a bad. I know what you're saying, Chris, because you're thinking of all the bad action from the Transformers films, but I feel like this could actually be good, right? No?
I think I agree with you, Peter. I think the action did look cleaner in this trailer than anything we've seen in Transformers movies. And while I'm nervous about a big fight out at the end that's just CGI mess. I hope that the rest of the movie won't give in to that.
Yeah. No, I hope so. I'm hopeful. Chris, are you going to see this in the theater, regardless of your cynicism?
No, I probably will not, but I will watch it eventually, maybe on Blu-ray. And if it's good, I'll be the first to admit I was wrong. But as of now, I'm on the fence.
You're out. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. That brings us to the end of today's Slash Film Daily. HT, where can we find more of your work online?
You can find me every day at slashfilm.com, and I'm on Twitter at htranbui.
Chris, where can people find you, the angry Transformers fans, to send you hate mail and tweets?
Yes, you can find me at slashfilm.com, and you can send your hate tweets to me at cevangelista413.
You can find me at slashfilm.com on all social media. You can find all the stories we talked about today on slashfilm.com and linked in the show notes. You can find this podcast, Slash Film Daily, on iTunes, Google Play, Overcast, Spotify, all the popular podcast apps. Please feel free to send your feedback, questions, comments, concerns to us at peter@slashfilm.com. And please rate and review this podcast on iTunes. Tell your friends, spread the word, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, Chris, so what would it take to get you excited in a Transformers movie? Like, would it have to be like David Fincher is directing a Transformers movie?
I mean, maybe. I think it would have to be like I was saying. It'd have to literally be basically a remake of E.T., where there's no big action sequences. It's just a really simple personal story. And I don't think they will ever make that. So the answer is nothing. It will never happen.
Nothing? Not even like Quentin Tarantino doing a Transformers movie? And don't say he would never do it. He's doing a Star Trek movie.
No. I mean, he probably would do it, but it's hard for me to, I don't care about cars that turn into robots. Like, I just don't care. I don't care.
Hey, there's also planes that turn into robots.
All right. Well, then, now that you put it that way, I guess I'm sold.